We're going to talk today about the hero's journey, which is focusing a lot on plot. We will talk about characters a little later. Now, it's best to start your story with establishing your characters first, because a lot of people wonder, should you do characters or plot first? You should do your characters first, but I'm going to discuss plot, because you have to understand the plot to understand what characters are. Once you understand plot and character, then you can start writing your own stories, starting with character. Okay, so let's go with plot. Well, where are we getting all this from? Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. This came out, around the 70s, quite a little time ago. And Joseph Campbell had this idea of what he called the monomyth, mono meaning one, that of all the mythologies, of every story that's ever been written, that if we put them all and we analyze them, we put them all together and we look at them, there's really just one story. It's the monomyth. And it's the same story and the same hero. We just keep putting different faces on that hero. So if you can learn what that one story is, it's going to unlock every story after that. That's how your life will change, because you'll never see story the same way ever again. You'll begin to understand what those stories are trying to communicate in a new way. And if you apply it, you'll write stories that are unforgettable. So, this book, if you were to pick up and read it, it's a good read, but it's a little philosophical, a little in-depth. Could be a little intense. So, Christopher Vogler, he wrote a book. And Vogler based his book off of Joseph Campbell. And what he did is he took away all of the philosophy and all the weird goddesses stuff, and he just broke it down into what makes a good story. And Christopher Vogler, he knows all about story. He knows what makes a good story. He works in Hollywood, and what he does is he green lights different projects. So, see, Hollywood's got millions of scripts, but they only green light maybe 10% of them. They'll only take the script that they think in this moment will sell. Okay? So, Vogler, he green lighted scripts like The Titanic, huge money maker. The Lion King, another big money maker. Pulp Fiction, that was a big hit, a cult hit. People love that film. So, would you say Christopher Vogler knows a little something about what makes a good story? Yeah, right? He's sought after in Hollywood, big time. So, here's a guy who reads thousands of stories all the time. And so he can take a story and fix it up, too. He'll tell you what's wrong with your story. So he wrote this book called The Writer's Journey. And ever since this book came out, many films have followed right in line with his theories. And most movies that have followed his method have made millions. So it's all about just knowing the monomyth, going back to Joseph Campbell. So let me show you how it works. Let's look at this script. Now I want you to ignore all the chicken scratch there. Just look at the typed words. Okay. Star Wars: A New Hope. Here's a brief overview, synopsis. Luke Skywalker is an orphan living with his uncle and aunt on the remote wilderness of Tatooine. He's rescued from aliens by wise, bearded Ben Kenobi, who turns out to be a Jedi Knight. Ben reveals to Luke that Luke's father was also a Jedi Knight and was the best pilot he had ever seen. Luke is also instructed in how to use the Jedi lightsaber as he too trains to become a Jedi. Luke has many adventures in the galaxy and makes new friends such as Han Solo and Princess Leia. Okay, take that script, scratch out the names, and replace them. We now have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which became known as the Sorcerer's Stone. Harry Potter is an orphan living with his uncle and aunt on the remote wilderness of suburbia. He is rescued from muggles by wise-bearded Hagrid, who turns out to be a wizard. Hagrid reveals to Harry that Harry's father was also a wizard and was the best Quidditch player he had ever seen. Harry is also instructed in how to use a magic wand, as he too trains to become a wizard. Harry has many adventures in Hogwarts and makes new friends, such as Ron and Hermione. All right, do you guys see what's going on here? It's the same story, but they both made millions. And no one in the audience said, wait a minute, this is exactly like Star Wars. Nobody even notices, right? No one notices. There's nothing like Star Wars. There's no aliens and spaceships and Darth Vader and all these. No, come on. Harry Potter is nothing like Star Wars. But we see in literature, they're pretty much exactly the same. So, this is the monomyth theory in action. Now, the hero's journey is a cycle, and it's got many parts and many stages. We're not going to study this one. This is more like Joseph Campbell's version, a little more involved. If you go to college and take creative writing, you might get a little bit more involved in this. We're going to do the simplified version, which is the 12-step stage of the hero's journey. So on your paper, what you want to do is kind of write down 1 through 12 and skip a line. I don't want you sitting here copying slides. I'm going to actually go through each stage, okay? I just want you to keep track of them. Again, don't try to copy this list in the time that we have. So, the stages, if we lay them across a 3-act structure, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, they lay right across a traditional story structure. I mean, the hero's journey as a template for story didn't come out till maybe the last 20, 30 years. Okay, so what about every story that happened before then? Well, every story before then had 3 acts. That's how you structured stories, going all the way back to the medieval ages. We see Shakespeare writing in 3 acts. Okay, so the 3-act structure has been around a long time. We just have broken it down further into 12 steps. What I want you to notice in this chart is that Act 1 is 30 screenplay pages. What a lot of people don't know is that in a screenplay, 1 page of screenplay equals 1 minute of film time. That's pretty interesting, don't you think? So on page 8, they are 8 minutes in to the film. And so a screenwriter writes certain minutes before they write anything else. They write the 45-minute mark, the 8-minute mark. They write those pages, and then they fill in everything that happens in between. Okay, so in Act 1 would be 30 screenplay pages, which is 30 minutes of film. Act 2 is 60 pages, and Act 3 is 30 again. So it's 30, 60, 30. So you can see there that Act 2 is the biggest. It's the largest of the acts. It's most of your story. But the most important parts are in the first 30 minutes or in the last 30 minutes. A lot has to happen in that time frame, especially the first 30 minutes. A writer has to establish many things right on the onset. Okay? Then you're sort of on cruise control until you get to Act 3. Okay, so let's look at each of the steps, and I'll show you how they work. Like I said, the hero's journey is a cycle. So here we have a chart of a circle, because we're going to come full circle in the end. Let's start with stage 1, ordinary world. In the ordinary world, the hero of the story is going about their ordinary day. Now, the day doesn't have to be boring. That's not what we mean. Ordinary means it's relative to the hero. So if the hero is a soldier fighting in Vietnam, dodging bullets every 5 seconds, well, that's ordinary to that soldier. You see what I'm saying? So you got to think of your hero and what's ordinary to your hero. And you have to establish that world. Once you've done that, here in this picture I have a kingdom. Once you've done that, we have to call that hero out of their ordinary world. We have to set them on a collision course, like what we saw up in front of class when two people were walking towards each other. We've got to set that into motion. So how do we do that? We have step 2, call to adventure. In this case, the dragon comes. So step 1, ordinary world. Step 2, call to adventure. The dragon comes and threatens the kingdom. The hero must do something about it. But here's the thing. A lot of amateur writers will just have the hero go out and kill the dragon. That's not story. Okay? What happens is step 3. Refusal of the call. See, the hero most often refuses the call to adventure. It's not natural to just answer a call to adventure. Why? Because it's threatening their ordinary world. All of you in here, you have your daily life. I guarantee you, if something threatens your daily routine, you resist. It's just natural. It's just natural. If someone said suddenly, oh, from now on, you're going to Harupa Valley starting tomorrow, would you just say, oh, okay? No, I think there'd be some resistance, right? Like, what? Why? What? What are you talking about? You wouldn't just say, oh, okay, and then go Harupa Valley. You just wouldn't. Some of you might put up an even bigger fight. So wait, who do I need to talk to? I'm not going to Harupa Valley. You know what they're going to do to me there? I'm just kidding. But you see what I'm saying? The hero refuses. So now what? How do we move our story forward if the hero is refusing to go on this journey? Well, that's where we bring in step 4, which is the mentor. It's the mentor's job to guide and train our hero, and they push them forward into the adventure. Okay? All of this happens in Act 1. Now, one thing I want to say is that the mentor does not have to come in Stage 4. The mentor is negotiable. Some stories start off with the hero and the mentor in the first stage. That's fine. Put the mentor wherever you want, but they usually appear somewhere in the first act. They're introduced. The mentor can be really anybody who's going to guide the hero along. I've seen stories where the mentor isn't even a person who's there. Sometimes it's a memory. It's a memory of somebody. And that memory guides the hero through the story. Okay? Or it could be a doctrine, a warrior's code. It could be the Bible. It could be a mission. Something, though, some force of some sort must guide our hero and set them on this collision course because they don't want to do it. They do not want to disrupt their ordinary world. We got to force them. Now, the mentor doesn't always force them to go. We can throw in different events to do that, but the mentor definitely helps move them along. Okay, so now that they're doing that, we're done with Act 1. We're about to go into Act 2, which is called Crossing the Threshold. Okay, the threshold is now that special world. Okay. And so let me show you kind of a physical example of what that looks like. So Thomas, come back up here. Let me show you what Act 1 should look like. And then who is up there? David? All right, come on up real quick. So you stay there, Thomas. And David's over here. You're the hero, David. Aww. Yay, David's the hero. Okay. So if we go through the stages, ordinary world. Here's David. You don't mind if I just move your arms, right? There's David going about his daily life. Woo, la, 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 la. Right? Okay. So what? He's not on a collision course yet, right? Then he gets a challenge. Thomas challenges him to a fight on the basketball court. Okay? The big game. Thomas challenges him. Now, his reaction isn't like, oh yeah, let's go. No, what would his reaction be? I ain't doing it, forget it. So he starts walking this way. There's no collision course. They're going separate ways, right? But there's no story there. So then, we need the mentor. So, no, come on up real quick. Oh, no, sit down. I'll use you for a different role. So the mentor says, hey, come on, man. You could do it. You could take this guy. Come on. This is going to, man, you'll get the championship. You get a scholarship. You could do it, man. So we're going to try to push the hero onto the journey. And so the hero at some point commits. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take him on. But then we get to the next step, which is the threshold. See, Thomas, his world is a special world. And for David Smith to enter his world, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be fire. There's going to be obstacles. You can't just take on Thomas in the basketball court just like that. You're going to have to go through some pain. So, there's a line that needs to be crossed. And that line could be all the way back here. All right, stand up now. And on that line is somebody we call the threshold guardian. So just look all tough or something. Cross your arms. All right, here comes a hero. David Smith. He's committed. He's going to take on Thomas. But he can't. He's got to get around Nanos, the threshold guardian. Yeah, no, let's get out of the way yet. See, we have to see if the hero really has what it takes to take on Thomas. And that's the goal of the threshold guardian. His goal is to test the hero, but his job, full-time job, is to protect this special world. Okay? No one goes in this world unless you go through the threshold guardian. So, because the hero has a mentor, I give him the skills. Go ahead. He goes around. He can defeat the threshold guardian. Now sit down. And now our journey, our collision course begins. All right, guys, sit down. Let's give him a hand, guys. Great job. Great job. Does that make some sense to you guys? All right. We are now set. The collision is now set. They're locked in. The hero is locked. The point of no return. He must take on whatever that shadow is. All right, so now we're in Act 2. The next step is called Test Allies and Enemies. And test allies and enemies, the hero is tested constantly. The hero must also figure out who's an ally and who's an enemy. And it's not always clear. And sometimes there are reversals, where who you thought was a friend is really the enemy. Or vice versa. Who you thought was the enemy really becomes a friend. So this is when the hero finds those things. And it's the biggest part of the story because it takes a long time to establish this. This might be one of the hardest parts of the story because it's just a lot of events that have to happen. Okay? But eventually, once we've gotten through all of this in Act 2, we're now ready to move forward in our story. We move forward, we're going to get ready for the big fight. But before that happens, we have the approach to the inmost cave. The hero must prepare for the big moment when the worlds collide. Okay? And a lot of times, people look at this as a spiritual thing. This is when the hero calls upon the goddess or their gods or whatever supernatural force they listen to. Maybe their mentor. Maybe it's their mother. Maybe it's something deep inside them. But whatever it is, the hero must call upon these new forces to take on this ordeal. And now the next step is the ordeal. You notice on the hero's journey, the ordeal is exactly halfway in. Do you guys see that? So if I had a 90-minute movie, I can fast forward to 45 minutes. There'll be the big fight right there. Guaranteed. Okay? That's where it goes. It goes right in the middle. Because the story, of course, is not over. This is just an external conflict. We're going to get to the internal later. So externally, here's the big fight. And usually the hero wins. And so the next step is called the reward. There is a reward. Congratulations, you defeated the evil force. But, as they say in Hollywood, to make a good story, you must always slay the dragon twice. So, we've done it once, but it's not enough. More must be done. The hero is not yet a hero. They won a battle, but the war is not over. So, we give the audience a chance to enjoy the spoils of victory. So in the reward is usually where they'll be around the campfire and there's a big celebration. People are happy. We'll talk about in a romantic sense what happens with this later. Okay. So that's the reward. Now, as we all know, after the reward, gosh, what if we just ended the story there? Okay. Some stuff happened, but nothing deep. We got to go deep now. The hero must be born. So, let's go into Act 3, the road back. The universe must balance itself. We cannot let the hero get away with this. They defeated this evil, but it was far too easy. It's time for payback. Let's really see if the hero has what it takes to finish this once and for all. And so, in the road back, this is not necessarily a stage, but it's part of the road back, and that is death. The hero experiences death. It could be the hero actually dying, although that's rare, or maybe we think the hero is dead. I mean, how many movies have you seen where the hero's like underwater or something explodes and everybody starts crying? And then the hero comes out, I'm okay, guys. Everyone's like, yay, and the music comes on. And okay, it could be that. It could be internal or even psychological. This is the part where the police, the chief of police says, you know what, you're done with this case. I want your badge and your gun. Now, how many movies have we seen where the police throw their gun and their badge on the desk? This is when it happens, right? Just when they got the bad guy, but they broke every law to do it. So they experience the reward, but now we must balance things out. They'll be punished now, you see? So that's the death. Now here is where the true story is. The next stage, which is called the resurrection. With every death, there's a resurrection. The hero sees the world in a new way. Neo, in the Matrix, realizes that he's the one. And when he realizes it, he can stop time. He can stop bullets midair. When does he realize it? In the first 10 minutes of the movie? No. Near the end. Near the end. Because it's only through the death can a resurrection happen. And it's that moment of resurrection. That is where your story lives. Everything else has been just something to get us there. Good screenwriters write the death and resurrection scene first. The rest of the story is just whatever. We have to get here. So, the resurrection is that new perception. The hero will never see the world the same way again. Now, when they realize this is internal, you see. Now we're ready for the last stage, and that is the return. The return with the elixir. See, the hero goes back to the ordinary world. They return, but they bring something back with them. It wasn't that the hero killed the dragon. It's that they bring home a new understanding. And no dragon will ever attack again. They realize that if you throw an arrow right into the chest of the dragon, you'll kill him. That's the elixir. They bring it back and they change their world forever. Because never again will dragons ever threaten the kingdom. That's just an example. Okay? It's when the bad guys, the cop, in a cop story, they get the bad guy but then they do it illegally, like a movie like Lethal Weapon or something. But then they find out the real bad guy wasn't the bad guy at all. It was someone above him, right? It's the corporation. It was someone in the government. That's when they realize, that's that resurrection moment. They realize, oh wait, it wasn't about these bad guys. This was all orchestrated by the president. We need to do something. So see, they go back to their ordinary world, but with a new understanding that this will not happen again. So that's where your story lives, and that completes our hero's journey. Why? Because we go back to the ordinary world. It's been changed forever. And that's what makes them the hero. It's not that they saved someone in danger. That's how we think of heroes today, right? We think of heroes like with a cape flying around, saving someone. Oh, you're my hero. Well, that's true. But when we talk about hero's journey, a hero is simply somebody who goes through a death and resurrection and changes their world because of it. So it doesn't have to be as extreme as saving somebody who got kidnapped. It could be simple as realizing that you can go to college, that you can succeed, that you can be a great athlete, that you can hang with the NFL players. Whatever it is, the hero has a new realization and their world is changed because of that. That right there is story. And all good stories follow this format. Now, this is meant to be a structure, and it's not meant to be a box to stifle creativity. Good writers, they can shuffle some of these stages around a little bit. I wouldn't move them if I were you, but really good writers can move them a little. They can hide some of the stages. They're there, but it's really hard to see them. Okay? But those are the really good writers. Now, how does this translate, let's say, in a romance? Because a lot of times when you guys think of conflict, you think of two people that are going to kill each other. Well, what do you do in a romance? Certainly they're not trying to kill each other. Well, look, it follows the same pattern. I'll just make up a story off the top of my head. Ordinary world. Girl works in an advertising agency. Call to adventure. She gets a call. She has to work with a new client she never worked with before. She meets him. He's a totally handsome guy. Wow, call to adventure. Her ordinary world has been changed now. She met this cute guy in the elevator. Refusal. No, I'm not gonna mix business with pleasure. This is gonna cause trouble. This guy's nothing but trouble. He's beautiful, but he's trouble. And then she has a mentor, her best friend. No, come on. He's great. It's going to be fine. You can make this work. You should really get with this guy. He's my best friend. He's my childhood friend, whatever. Okay, so then she decides, okay, I'm going to do this. She's committed. And now, even if she wasn't committed, maybe the boss puts them together. Hey, come in. You and this guy, you guys are working together. No questions. Get out of my office. Hero is locked in now. Two worlds coming together, colliding. Hers and his. He has his life, she has her life. But they must come together. So now, Tess allies enemies. Well, who's for this relationship is who's against it. And all those romances, don't we always have those friends? Some are supporting it and some are against it. What's his mom think? What's my mom think? All of that. Approach to the inmost cave. Well, the ordeal, she's not going to fight him. This is a romance. The ordeal is the date. The first time they go out. Don't you see? It's two worlds colliding in the same moment in time. It's a date. How's it going to go? It doesn't always go well. Especially if you watch those MTV dating shows. Things don't always go well. Okay, well, approach to the inmost cave must happen. She gets ready for the date. Gets dressed up, whatever, makeup, picks a dress, maybe calls her friend, calls upon that higher power, calls grandma, someone, gets advice. Then the date, the ordeal, the big night out, conflict. But it works. She followed the advice of her grandma, and it worked out. So then the reward. That's usually when they kiss, the kissing scene. Hey, get any romantic movie, find out where like the 45-minute mark, 48-minute mark, around there, fast forward, they'll be kissing. We actually did that when I was in film class. We would do that. It's like, what? No way! If you take out the scene in the beginning of a film where it's got the credits, take that out because that's always done in post-production. If you take out the credit scene and just have the film, you can actually measure the minutes. And boom, fast forward 45 minutes, they'll be kissing or something. So that's the reward. But we know, oh man, she shouldn't have done that. Now everything's going to be messed up. She shouldn't have mixed business with her personal life. So now the road back. The universe is angry. She's going to pay for this. You can't get away with what she did. So now what happens, right? Don't they always break up? You're almost done with this movie, 75% in, the breakup. And there's all this sad music and pianos, and people are walking around Central Park in New York. Okay. And then she realizes that, forget about the career. She just can't live without this guy. But a lot of those romantic movies, it's the guy who figures it out. Whoever, someone figures it out. Someone, after the death, someone resurrects and realizes, we got to do this. So they run, stop the train, stop the plane, stop the bus. And they said, come on, we need to be together. And so now they're together, return with the elixir. They're now together, they get married. And now they both work at the advertising agency in the ordinary world. But now they're together. Now the agency is better because of it. Now they're making more money than ever. You see what I'm saying? So there you go. I just made up a script. I should write it, make $1 million. I'll put Jennifer Lopez in there somewhere. Okay? So, do you guys see how this works, right? So what you're going to do is take your story and try to plug in all these pieces. Now you may not be able to go in order. Start with maybe the ordeal if you want to. Start somewhere and then just fill in the gaps. Now you have your whole story planned out, and that's one of your blog posts is you're going to do that. Now, are you going to write this entire thing? No way. It'd probably take you like 500 to 1,000 pages to tell this story. You're only doing 10. So once you have your story planned out, you're just going to pick out the stage that you like and write the 10 pages. Okay? So that's the hero's journey. Let's take a break from there.